The UFC's contract with ESPN is almost up, and they're actively looking for a new home for their fight nights and their pay-per-views. And to make this problem even worse, it looked like ESPN was a sure thing to get at least a portion of that. And then at UFC 313, ESPN had all sorts of problems accepting money to sell the pay-per-view, one of the biggest pay-per-views of the year, and millions of people could not buy it. What does this mean for the UFC? What does this mean for the contract negotiations? And do you think the UFC should go to Netflix? Josh, did you have trouble buying the pay-per-view? I think you had trouble buying the last pay-per-view.
Yes, I did. Yes. So the last pay-per-view I basically logged on, hit buy, credit card information was all updated. Everything was good. And it said it wasn't available in my area. I was like, what, in the United States? Like, not available here? Well, normally you guys are really eager to take my money. But in this situation, it was, I couldn't get it to work. I have no idea. And even when I actually came back on, and I will say this, I think because I figured it out, I feel like I figured it out last night because I did all the research and everything behind. I think what it was is since ESPN and Disney is pretty much merged, we've started having all these problems. The app is basically making me go through. I had to erase my Xfinity from my old house, in California, update it to my DirecTV here in Texas. I've got Xfinity and other businesses and things that I'm doing. And so just making sure that none of those things overlapped in any of my accounts. That was that, making sure the credit card was all one credit card on all of those platforms, which was such a pain in the ass.
I was going to say, think about how complicated this is to spend money. The easiest thing in the world for a business should be is to accept somebody else's money. That's like priority number one.
Yeah, and I know people are against facial recognition on these phones, but look, we're already using it for everything, you guys. Let's not pretend. When you go overseas, you do a facial recognition instead of using your passport. You can now fly without passports. You really just hit your facial recognition, and if they already got a picture of you on file, they just scan your face at the gate, and you get to go in. And it's happened a couple of times to me. I haven't had to pull out my passport when traveling to overseas, so whether Ireland or the UK or to Abu Dhabi, and I haven't had to just scan my face, and the gate opens up, and I walk through because it matches my passport that's on file. That being said, I mean, I'm surprised that they don't just do the facial recognition scan and go ahead and charge what you want. Look. Remember the Amazon grocery stores? It was a facial.
They still have those at the airport.
Yes.
At the airport, they have the, you don't do a thing. You walk in and it's just and you walk out. You never talk to a human. You don't put a credit card down, nothing.
You need your Amazon app to scan in to walk in. And as you're walking around, whatever you pick off the shelf, it's like a facial recognition, and it takes it. And then when you walk out, you scan out again, and that's it. And that charges you for what they believes you took. Now, I know there's some fuck ups. It's an AI generated situation, but bottom line is, I mean, that's kind of where we're headed. So in this process, why do I got to keep inputting all this shit when I know like my credit card's already in my phone? You guys, all you got to do is just scan my phone and scan my face and look, take my money.
If this isn't the most old man shit I've ever heard, let me recap for anybody watching. Angelo goes, hey, the ESPN app had some problems, so UFC go to Netflix. And then Josh starts talking about facial recognition and AI. What a wild pivot.
Because I mean, like, I'm still young at heart and can still handle, you're the tech guy, right? Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, man. I was asking my wife for help on how to fix this shit. It was what it was. It's, look, I think in terms of them and ESPN and Netflix, they will, I believe 100% go to Netflix. But do you think that it's going to get better over there, especially in big money and big fight nights? I think you guys are sadly mistaken, because they're going to have some ups and downs. Because if you went back and you watched the Mike Tyson fight when he fought Jake Paul, it crashed the system.
It was bad. It wasn't even 10 minutes. It was for hours. It was bad.
So they had a problem there. They went then, since you said, basically they fixed it when they did the football situation. I didn't watch the Netflix and football on there. I have the ticket and all the other stuff, so I watched football on there. Anyways, bottom line is that they're gonna have some rough spots wherever they go. I think they're gonna stay with ESPN because, as I said to Big John the other day, I said, hey, you can't be considered or have the number one sports platform talk about you if you're not on their platform. You've got to be on their platform somehow, some way. And so I think they're gonna do probably. I think what they'll do is they'll get rid of all of the They'll get rid of all the pay-per-views. I think they're going to get away from that model, except for maybe like 2. I think they're going to start to take the WWE approach. Is it like Royal Rumble and WrestleMania are like the 2 biggest shows they have all year, correct? And they charge,
I believe so.
They charge like $100, I think, for their pay-per-view. I think they're going to do something like that. And then everything else will be a prescription base. And I think they're just going to get paid out from Netflix and from ESPN, and it'll all be prescription based. Like that's because everyone understands pay-per-view numbers suck. It doesn't matter whether you have a star power or not. People are not really buying the pay-per-views. The days of the Conor McGregor and the Khabib doing 2.5 million, they're gone. They're done. It's not going to happen anymore. And so I think that's the direction in which they're going, because they're going to start to work that TV deal too with boxing once boxing gets elevated off the ground with their new model. They know that. So why would we sell pay-per-views to boxing? Because people aren't buying them. Why would we sell pay-per-views to, to fans for UFC? Why? People are not buying them. The numbers are not the same. John Jones has only broke 1 million views one time. So he's not as big a star as Angelo likes to try to make him out to be. It's just, I mean, want to be honest, man, like I think when Fedor was fighting Verdum in Strikeforce, it was like 9 million views or something ridiculous.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was it free?
But he wasn't a star. But I get it for you.
Verdum could really push some numbers. Holy shit!
Oh, wow. Yeah, the guy that didn't speak English.
So it would be cool if they ditched the pay-per-view model. Obviously, you save a couple of bucks. That is where all content is going. All content is going to subscription fee model. I mean, there's 95 different platforms. The WWE went that route a long time ago. To your point, they only have a couple of pay-per-views now instead of the once a month they had like in the 90s when we were growing up. Well, you 70s. But what they've done is they did their own subscription.
Unfortunately, you're correct.
They did their own subscription fees, right? I think the WWE had their own subscription for like $10 a month, and it just included those pay-per-views. Mm-hmm. The UFC, honestly, could bet on themselves and go the other way. Instead of going to a Netflix, they could bet on themselves, make it Fight Pass, raise it to $20 a month, and include everything. They're not going to do that because the Netflix platform has access to hundreds of millions of people.
Billions.
Hundreds.
They're in the billions. They're in the billions.
Not of active subscribers.
Yeah, yes. YouTube and Netflix are in the billions.
Oh, well, YouTube. Yeah. If you include both.
No, I'm not including both. They're separate. Netflix and YouTube are in the billions. Look it up there, Angelo.
Jamie, look it up. Netflix active subscribers.
Yeah, I rather they were in the billions. They're at like
300 million.
What?
Yeah, I mean that was.
Okay, so what's YouTube then? 2.2 billion.
YouTube's got to be in the billion. Yeah, YouTube's got to be in the billion.
Okay, maybe I got them crossed over.
Yeah.
All right, so 300 million. But look, they're going to pay them,
which is an astronomical number. Like that is
It's going to jump once they sign the UFC.
100%
jump.
And if the power of Netflix has never been more apparent. We talked about the Tyson-Paul fight. It was a disaster as far as the technical side of things are concerned. But the actual numbers, it was the most viewed combat sporting event in the history of planet Earth. It's not even close. It blew out every other number for every other combat sport ever. Not even close. And that's just the power of Netflix. It is on every device everywhere. You go to a random hotel, boom, Netflix. Your phone, boom.
It's
Netflix.
built into your TV.
It's
a smart TV. Like I have a red button on my remote that says Netflix. That's how much they're built in. But on top of that, though, I don't even have Netflix.
But you will.
I'm one of those guys. I'm one of those guys that's gonna have to buy it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to buy it because. Like, there's just no way. I mean, we do combat sports podcast. Yeah. If they do boxing and they do MMA,
they have wrestling now too.
Yeah, and they have wrestling. I don't watch wrestling. But
I don't either, but I think it's working for them. I think it's working for them. People are watching Raw. People are like, because what happened was all these subscription services realized live sports are the future because you can sell ads on live sports. You can't run an ad through an episode of Stranger Things without pissing off your base, right? I pay for this.
Through it.
Correct. Well, and like I pay for this. Why am I paying for an ad? But during live sports, there's breaks. You can do real ads. You can do ads on the field. You do ads in the cage. So you just sell your ads that way. It's definitely the future. I was against them moving to Netflix at first because I had never experienced issues with the ESPN app. But once I saw, obviously the Jake Paul thing was a disaster, but once I saw the Christmas football games, it was just well done. High quality, high production, 4K. That sounds stupid. And as a tech nerd, it's absurd to me that the UFC is not available in 4K. Why is it not available in 4K? That's nuts. 4K, like all of those things, I think Netflix can elevate the production value, and just having it full access anywhere, anytime, always. I think it's the right move for them and the UFC. And if the UFC ditches the pay-per-view model or reduces it and puts some big events on Netflix, I think that would work to their benefit revenue-wise. Because if they do some sort of revenue split with Netflix, or Netflix just pays for the rights, they can do some really, really cool stuff. So I do think they should move to Netflix. I think the rumors, and let me know what if you think they should do a hybrid model. I think the rumors are they're trying to do the shotgun approach and be on like 5 different platforms, a little bit of ESPN, a little bit of Netflix, a little bit over here, just a little bit everywhere instead of just one home.
Okay, so I do believe they're going to be on different platforms. I don't think they're going to be everywhere, though. I think they're going to pick 2. They may have a couple one-offs on the third, like they'll do a deal with ABC or something for like a one-off. Yeah. And they'll just show the main card on there. They won't show like the prelims or anything on there. The prelims will probably be on Netflix or ESPN, whatever it is. But I think, look, ESPN and their relationship seems to be pretty solid. I think they'll keep that relationship. You also are a huge sport, and I would agree with you. UFC helped keep ESPN in business during COVID.
Oh yeah.
I don't think ESPN's ready to forget that, and I don't think the UFC is going to allow them to forget it.
They probably can't afford to forget it either.
No, they can't. And I think, because look, let's be honest. NBA is plummeting. Yeah. I mean, did you watch the game last night with LeBron faking the foul? Like literally throwing himself on the ground. Like
he launched himself back.
He launched himself on the ground. Like, look, this is why. Like, you're gonna don't even get me into the fucking GOAT conversation. Don't ever mention that man's name in the GOAT conversation. Ever.
The funniest part about that, before I let you finish, is the way my media room set up. I have the big TV in the middle and then a couple on the side. And on the side was the LeBron thing. And Jacob was like, "Look at what we're watching here." And I forget what the fight was on the pay-per-view, but 2 people just going at it. And then right there, just 1 foot to the right, the biggest human being on any of the platforms is launching himself backwards like, ow, ow, ow. Yeah. It was just such a funny contrast.
I mean, honestly, if you want to remedy their problem with their ratings, they just got to basically start penalizing those players for doing such things. Yeah, if you literally like just throw yourself back and no contact was made or slight contact was made, it's embarrassing. It really is embarrassing. So, but look, I forgot, lost my train of thought.
You were talking about how other sports are sort of declining, so the ESPN needs UFC.
Yeah, I mean, outside of the NFL, I mean, Major League Baseball is declining, NBA is declining, and you have the NFL and you have MMA. Those are and boxing's for sure declining, and the UFC is going to try to come in with Turkey and try to fix that problem or remedy that problem. I think they're going to have a great chance with the WWE, with MMA, with UFC, and with boxing. They're going to lock up those combat sports. And I'm predicting this. At the end of all of this, I think they're going to end up on their UFC Fight Pass. Not on this run, but they're building their brand. They're building that app. And everyone knows you go there for the smaller level shows, whether it be like LFA or whatever, what other shows are available on there. That's where they go. And so that being said, I think that I think they're going to end up on Netflix. I think they're going to get rid of it. It's going to be all prescription based. They're going to have, I think, 2 big pay-per-views a year. I don't know where they'll put those. They may put them on Netflix. They may not. They may put them on ESPN. I think, and then I also think that like the smaller shows like Dana White's Contender Series, Tough, The Ultimate Fighter, I think those will end up probably on
those ESPN. Are great moves to Netflix, actually. Those are phenomenal moves to Netflix. Yeah, those are great moves to Netflix, especially Contender Series, because the previous video we filmed was building the next superstar. That's what Contender Series is. Building people up, moving them into the UFC. And if you get more eyes on the Contender Series, you throw it on Netflix, you can very quickly, you can accelerate.
So you don't think putting them on actual sports channel would be more beneficial?
No. I think putting them on Netflix to get the casual views, especially Contender Series fights, tend to be a lot of fun because it's like, there's usually some mismatches. I think Contender Series on Netflix would be a phenomenal idea.
See, I liked it the other way around where I went ESPN because now people are on there, but also too, if something exciting happens and that fight ends up on your top 10, you got an instant star. Like you got guys already
Sure.
talking about, like, man, this guy
Sure.
knockout on
That's a
the
good point.
Ultimate Fighter. I mean, now don't get me wrong, they can still pull their knockout from over there and then push it over to ESPN.
Yeah, but it's more in their benefit to.
It's more in their benefit to produce their own or have their own content available and ready. Because look, we had it on our platform, we saw it happen. We can just plug and play on our ESPN top 10. So I thought the Ultimate Fighter, because look, that's where you want to build those stars at. That's one thing that Scott Coker did very well, was he took young stars and he built them up. And you look at what ESPN could do if a couple of good guys that have highlight reel knockouts like Ruffy last night. I'm surprised that wasn't on the ESPN's top 10.
Yeah, that should be flying around. That was wild.
That's a drop the ball, I think, by the UFC. Like, you should be cutting that clip right away and sending that to ESPN. Maybe it'll make it on Monday's top 10. I don't know. But whatever it is, I'd be sending that off to them as fast as possible to try to get that type of thing done, because that was that was
wild.
insane.
Yeah.
It landed so cleanly. I didn't even notice that it landed.
I thought it missed, and then they did the slow motion,
too.
and it was only heel right here. It's like, oh my God.
Yep. Beautifully done. Beautifully done. Yeah. So do they end up on multiple platforms? I say yes, but I think only 2. I don't think it's going to be scattered everywhere. You get a couple, you know how we do right now. Like, they kind of, hey, ABC gets one card over here, but it's also congruent with like another, it plays on ESPN as well.
Undercard. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, or something like that. So, I know I can see that potentially happening.
It'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to a little bit of a change. I do love the idea of the Netflix change now. Obviously, hopefully they invest in some servers and get that under control, which I imagine they would. I imagine that's also a negotiation piece. To your point, boxing would be interesting as well. So TKO, the parent company of the UFC, also owns WWE. So they've already done a deal with Netflix. And now that TKO, the parent company of UFC and WWE, is working with Turkey Al-Shesh. And they're trying to enter the boxing world. Part of the decline of boxing was they got too greedy. And it was all just superstar massive pay-per-views. No more free fights on Fridays. No more free fights here. No more free fights there. You can't build people up if you're not showing people to the casuals, to the masses. You get that ESPN deal there as well. And now you are showcasing young fighters to the masses. I think it's a perfect marriage. It'll be interesting to see what happens. You have anything else on this point before we button it up?
Promoters fucked up boxing. That's the bottom line. The Ali Act didn't help it either. They just basically changed the dynamic of the sport. Do I think fighters should get paid more? Absolutely. Do I think the UFC has a better model? Absolutely, I do. And people want to complain about what fighters are getting paid. We knew what we signed up for, but on top of it, I think ultimately you will see the fighters get a bigger percentage of the pie here shortly. I think right now, it's at what, 18% or 19%. I'd like to see it jump to 22 to 23. If it can get in that 23, 24 range, you're on your way. But look, anytime they're building all this stuff out, it takes time and it takes money. And if you want to build stars, you need to put money into those stars. And it takes time. Like I said, 15 fights on a main card, last night or whatever it was, we were supposed to have 15 fights somewhere around there versus what? 5 or 4 on boxing. And by the end of a boxing card, you're fucking exhausted from so much bullshit in the middle. Yeah. I said, if you want to fix boxing, stop allowing these fucking fighters to walk out with a rapper for a 45-minute long walkout. I'm tired of that shit. No one cares. Get the fight. And Dana actually brought this up, which is funny because I said that. And then literally like a day or two later, he goes, yeah, we're going to get rid of all this shit in between. He's like, people are there to watch fights. They don't need an hour in between each fight. This dumb.
The pacing's nuts.
Fights.
It feels like boxing. So UFC, last night for UFC, there was a couple of finishes and they just roll into the next. They'll kill time every now and then with some prepackaged segments, but they'll roll into the next fight for the most part. Boxing is basically like you're fighting at 11. I don't care if the last fight ended at 9. We're waiting 2 hours. You're fighting at 11. And it's brutal. They don't move. They don't adjust at all.
No, they have no desire to. What it is I've said this before, is it's old heads. All the old executive producers and directors and media, they're old. They're old people that run boxing, and that's the problem. You're going to slide in some younger talent, some younger people to handle the boxing portion of it for the UFC and Turkey's boxing, and you're going to see a change. It's going to be streamlined. You said they're going to fill. Yeah, sometimes you have to fill. Sometimes the guy in the back couldn't get his cup on. Sometimes he had to take a shit. Sometimes his hands weren't wrapped. Sometimes you find a clay pack inside their hand wraps, like with Margarito. Like there's things that happen, okay, that you need to have resolved. And in the meantime, they're out there trying to kill time so these guys can get it set up. But it's still streamlined. It's still streamlined right to the actual event, and that's what we're here to watch. We don't want to watch all the bullshit in between. Dana is very much against all this shit of walking out with your rapper and having all the, it's ridiculous. No one needs to see a 45-minute walk. I don't need to see that shit. Get rid of it. It's trash, garbage.
It'll be interesting. I do hope they move to Netflix. I'm looking forward to some changes. I'm looking forward to, if they adjust that model, let's get some free big fights, because you know what? It's a lot easier. The future of any sport, which was part of the decline of boxing that we mentioned, the future of any sport is building new fans. What better way to build new fans than putting your product on the most widely available subscription video service on the planet? I think the UFC should go to Netflix. Before we go, very quickly, if you go to a doctor's office and they have to write you something for medicine, what's that called?
Prescription.
Okay. And when I pay $10 a month to Netflix, what's that called?
Subscription.
Okay. All right, good. Watch this back, and you'll understand why I asked. You said prescription like 38 times.
Oh, did I?
Yes.
Oh, did I? Okay. Did I say, prescribe? That's it.
You said if I get I don't even have a prescription to Netflix.
Got it. Well, I don't have one, so I got to have to get one now. I'm going to have to get one now. But look, I think ultimately for the better of the sport, they're going to end up on Netflix for sure. I think Netflix got too much money to pay out. They're going to pay them out. And they're going to go ahead and feature, ESPN fights. They will have ESPN fights to make sure they can help build their stars over there. And I think you're going to see the 2 pay-per-view a year model. 2 of their biggest events are going to make it a huge thing. Probably International Fight Week, and probably again sometime around Christmas. They'll probably do something like that too, so they can start capitalizing.
I would love if they brought back, and this was you didn't watch a lot of Pride or Japanese MMA, and I get it. It's fine. I did. They used to do those massive New Year's Eve cards.
I know I fought in Pride, right?
They used to do those massive New Year's Eve cards. That would be amazing. Give us the end of June International Fight Week. Give us the New Year's Eve card. Make those your 2 tentpole events. Throw the rest on Netflix.
They still do them, right? Stop. Pride.
Yeah, but nobody cares anymore. Yeah. Oh, here we go.
Oh, no. Did you not? I worked the last one. Did you not the last one, the one before? Did you not realize that there was 50,000 people in that arena? It's the #1 viewed thing in all of Japan. Did you not know that?
You keep
like it's baffles me that
did more people watch that or UFC 303?
Casual. This lets me know. Casual city. Like Suplex City is fucking casual city around here.
Did more people watch that event at the Satana Super Arena, or did more people watch UFC 303?
I haven't seen the numbers. I don't know.
No,
I can't give
you don't need
the
to.
numbers.
Yeah, you don't need to.
Wait, more people watch 313? I mean, I don't know.
Or I was saying 303 for that 303 was the International Fight Week last year.
Oh, got it. I'm not sure. I mean, but look, let's be honest. I mean, more people maybe watched the Saitama one on New Year's Eve than they watched last night. Only because
those ESPN have nice job. I love it. Nice little wrap up there. Put a bow on it.
All right, guys. Well, hey, hopefully you guys enjoy your weekend. The rest of your weekend, we dropped a couple of shows for you guys, and hey, good and bad takes. Bad takes from Angelo, great takes from me. By the way, it's Fedor, not Fedor.
It's subscription, not prescription.
Shut it.